Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Knights of the Alternate Histories. If you didn't see the first part, make sure to click the IQ card above. And let's get into the alternate history. We left off in about 1920, with the Great Depression just starting to hit. And yes, the border war is horrendous, but I mean, what do Europeans do but just draw lines? Now, the problem with this is that Germany has no allies except for Britain and Russia, but even that might change soon. And Italy is starting to see problems because they didn't get all the land they wanted in the war, as well as the former Austrian states now want to unite because the lines in the sand made horrible ethnic decisions that could cause great mass migration from country to country. And once again, France is upset because they felt Germany didn't get punished enough. As well, they didn't get any land that they wanted, only puppets. Mussolini's march on Rome would begin, and it would be an utter failure. It would fall out into a full-out revolution, because Italy wasn't really in the war for that long, and the territorial gains made sense, and they felt that they got what they were owed. But the Northerners did, wanting to expand more into what now is Yugoslavia, or even Austria to try and gain more land. But King Victor Emmanuel III would continue his assault, trying to push through Milan, where the capital is, to try and overall take more land and be able to win the war, thinking if he could just capture Mussolini, the war would be over. But Mussolini would refuse to surrender, starting to do warfare tactics such as that the Italian king had in Ethiopia, trying to stop the Italians just by hiding in the mountainous regions and attacking when it was necessary. Now taking Milan, he would be met with fierce opposition from the Milan people, who wouldn't want to be under him anymore. They would want to be under a country that said unity above all else, put ourselves first before others. And Victor Emmanuel III was more of, let's get together guys and work together. And he would continue fighting. The Italian military would be sent in from a lot of the colonies, which could give him opportunities to rebel as he pushed forward. But the coastline and Venice being the new capital would try and fall, because if they could cut off the coastline, that means they could cut off their supplies, and they would either have to surrender or retreat to a foreign power, which would frankly just not be an option for them. So they would continue on fighting, hoping that they could maybe do a quick victory to round them all up. With one last assault punching through Venice, this would lead to the victory that Victor Emmanuel wanted, and the Italian forces would just crumble, being sieged out in the Alps or in the newly conquered territory with not too friendly locals. He would frankly have to surrender, and he would turn himself in, hoping that he could get a pardon or a minister in the government. But Mussolini would be wrong. Victor Emmanuel III would execute Mussolini, most likely probably shooting him himself for his betrayal. And Mussolini wouldn't come back, he would just be dead. And that would be the so-called end of fascism, as they would say. But there is still plenty of Italian fascists that managed to escape across the border and get safe asylum. But overall, it would be over. The movement would be crushed. Meanwhile, in Britain, the movement would be thriving. Now, King Edward VII wouldn't resign, as he wouldn't need to. His dad would have died, but overall, the people would be more sympathetic to the king a lot more. And the two party members that he liked so much, Winston Churchill and Oswald Mosley, would start encouraging him to invite the Italian exiles, and they would start having an influence on his government. But now, instead of it being Willie, Nicky, and Georgie, it would be Willie III, Edward, and Nicky. And Nicky wouldn't feel that close of his relation with his first cousins once removed, because overall, they would be the new generation, and Nicholas II wouldn't want to rule. This would make him wildly unpopular, but also sort of popular for not bowing down to the foreign powers. Now, with troops and aid from the French, Belgium would declare war on the Netherlands and Luxembourg. The Netherlands would try and seek foreign help, but France's reason behind this is it was to get land that they lost in World War I, because they should have gotten land. And if the Belgians take over the Dutch, then they're not at fault. And then if the Belgians, say, want to join France later, then all of a sudden they would be French, and France would finally get the land that they deserve. The Belgian invasion would be very successful. With the support of French troops, it would give them the extra boost that they need to really take out the Dutch, with only the Holland provinces being what's standing in the way to Amsterdam. And Luxembourg would last more than 1 month, being able to make a siege by getting their armed forces quickly outside of Luxembourg City and in the countryside, trying to hold off the Belgian invasion. But it wouldn't be last too long. And Belgium would be able to send the troops from Luxembourg, all 80 of them, over to fight in the Netherlands, who would be almost on the brink. Amsterdam would be in a siege, and they would be appealing for help. They would send helps to all their neighbors, being like, please, come and save me. I have no clue what was going on, but all of a sudden, there's a lot more French speakers in Belgium, and I also see a bunch of French supplies coming after me. And Germany, seeing this as a way to get new allies, as well as France trying to get a huge border on them, would quickly come and support them. With the Netherlands at their lowest, this would mean Germany could really help influence the country to go in more of a monarchist direction that aligns with their views instead of, going down democracy like the nerds do. And the Netherlands would just accept this, being like, fine, at least we get to remain independent. And Luxembourg would be saved, and the Netherlands would start pushing down more and more. Because German troops outnumbered the French troops, and the French were too scared to openly declare war, knowing that Russia wouldn't support them, and that really they would only have Bohemia as an ally. So France would just send more troops across the border, hoping that no one really notices, but a lot of people do. And the Belgians would be back to the spot that they were in World War I, even worse because now the Dutch are helping the Germans instead of helping them. And Britain doesn't look like it would join anytime soon. And the Netherlands would be so grateful that all of a sudden a lot of the democratic officials would start disappearing. Like, ever since the German army came across, all of them were gone and a lot of monarchists started showing up. Anyways, the Belgians would start to lose. Oh, and look at that. As Belgium looks to France for more help, France declares war on Belgium. And what's this? All of a sudden, there's a bunch of French troops arresting Belgian troops. And, the war is basically over because the Belgian army collapsed? Oh, well, guess it was a coincidence that when France declared war, half of the army decided to mutiny. Anyways, yeah, France would declare war, Germany and the Netherlands would take their land, and the territories would be divided among the three. With France getting more coast, Luxembourg, sorry mate, you're not gonna last, Germany would just take you. The Netherlands getting the nether part of Belgium, and Germany getting the small German bits. And Germany would have a new ally, and now France wouldn't have Belgium to support them. There would be basically no one between them and France when the inevitable World War II came. And lastly, let's finish off with the alliance map. Russia now kind of went on their own, with Italy supporting them because they don't want to fall under the influence of the other monarchs or have the democratic ideas come. And France feeling more alone than ever. Most of their allies could get crushed, and then themselves are surrounded. So, they would try and find a new direction to take this. Italy would too. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, good on ya. I know this video was glitchy while I was editing it, and I tried re-recording some stuff, but I couldn't work it out. And yeah, I didn't do an intro segment, which was weird to do, and I'm recording this an hour before I have to upload it. So call that procrastination or the fact that I'm cleaning my office and I don't really have a place to record it. So have a good one. Happy Bastille Day! Now, as we look on Napoleon, hero of the French Revolution, and totally not a dictator that took it over for his own gains, click the video on the left, or the video on the right. Click the video on the left if you support my boy Napoleon, and click on the right if you support Robespierre, you monster.